say something real quick.
Okay, final comment. Because I got to go to my black lawyers next. Because we're fighting these Trump federal judges who want to get rid of the Voting Rights Act. But go ahead.
It's important to understand that, most importantly...
Oh, my bad. My bad. I need to put on some Marvin Gaye because this is some bullshit. Go right ahead.
Most importantly, we're trying to pivot off of the Democratic plantation. We're trying to make a pivot from this hold.
How about you pivot to facts?
This hold.
How about you pivot to facts?
That this party has on my people.
How about you pivot to facts?
That's so destructive to my people.
How about
and my
you
community.
Pivot to facts?
That's what I pivot to.
You literally.
Now, Trump is the alternative.
No, he's not.
Hey, I support him.
Dude, you literally called the January 6 people dissenters when they were domestic terrorists.
I said what? Say that again?
You have been quoted as calling the January 6 folks dissenters when they actually are domestic terrorists.
Well, listen.
You support them?
I stand in solidarity with any American brother or sister, like I said from the very beginning.
You stand in solidarity with the Oath Keepers?
That's going through hard times.
Do you stand in solidarity with the Oath Keepers? Mark,
because I don't take no pleasure in any American brother.
Mark,
this is the thing.
I'm asking you a question.
I know how people feel.
Do you stand in solidarity with the Oath Keepers?
Listen,
yes or no?
I have empathy for black people, right? Because how do you think I feel in my community? I have been castigated throughout my community and family and friends. So here's the thing. But I know how they feel. I understand.
Mark,
and guess what? Because they hate Trump. But guess what? There's no future in that. There's no future in that. I know how you feel.
No, ain't no future in this country if that lying, narcissistic insurrectionist is allowed back in. You literally have called the January 6 people dissenters. These are people who were domestic terrorists. These are people who were angry that black people voted. Donald Trump kept trashing black people when he would say Atlanta, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Detroit. You had a Republican. I'm not done.
You're making such a broad stroke.
No, I'm not.
That's like they did at BLM in the summer of love. No. Every BLM supporter is a rioter and a looter and an anarchist.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
All right, guys. So what you just saw there was the leader of the black bourgeoisie, Roly-Poly-Oly Martin, melting down and having a fit because a black man is supporting Trump. Okay, and people like Roland Martin, he's really panicking, okay? And the reason why is because his job as a gatekeeper for the Democrat Party is to make sure that black people don't leave the Democrat Party, right? And it seems, based off the polls, if you want to believe the polls, that black people are leaving the Democrat Party for Trump, right? I'm not going to say for Republicans, but for Trump specifically, okay? Because Trump has done a lot better among so-called people of color than most Republicans, and that is for a reason, okay? Trump is a very relatable guy, and they made him a lot more relatable by politically persecuting him. And again, his popularity has just continued to go up to the point where you even have the leader of a Black Lives Matter chapter out in Rhode Island, Mr. Mark Fisher, coming out and supporting Trump. Now, Roland Martin was upset with Mr. Fisher doing his interview because of his support for Trump, and he claims that the BLM leader didn't have any facts and yada, yada, yada. Well, here's a fact for you, Roland. The economy was better under Trump. That is objectively true. That is objectively a fact, okay? The border was more secure under Trump, and this country was just in a much better place under Trump. And I don't want to hear anything about the pandemic because the Democrats in liberal cities and them shutting down is the main reason why the country and the economy went into the dumps during the pandemic. It was Democrat forced shutdowns in their states. Maybe the biggest mistake that Trump made was allowing Democrat governors to run their own states, right? Maybe he should have actually been a tyrant, okay? Maybe he should have actually just taken over these states and just made them stay open. I'm just saying, right? Maybe Trump should have did that. But anyways, with that being said, I want to react to this interview that this BLM leader is giving on Fox News, where he's going to talk about why he is now supporting Trump. Because again, what you're seeing is a trend where you have black people who allegedly now are coming out and supporting Trump. Now, whether or not they'll actually vote for Trump, I'm not getting my hopes up, right? I'm not going to believe it, okay, until I see it. But regardless, hey, I think it's a good sign when you have even some of the wokest among us coming to terms with the reality of the country, right? In the situation that we face. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Now to this, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter, Rhode Island, is endorsing former President Trump and calling out the Democrats for what he calls years of racist policies. Watch.
You know, we've been used and abused for so long. That party, they don't value our vote. Their policies are basically racist policies, and I believe it's a racist party. Donald Trump he's the opposite. He's going to tell you how it is. He's going to give it to you straight. Trump has done more for the black community than any president I can think of in my lifetime.
And he's not alone in his criticism. President Biden faces dismal approval numbers among black voters in key swing states. Joining us now, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Rhode Island, Mark Fisher. Mark, thanks so much for joining the program. This is my favorite story of the day because it identifies with what I've seen in the barbershop. All the brothers, for some reason right now, are turning tides right now. And I just wonder, what is the big reason?
I think personally, it's the duplicity of the Democrats, the hypocrisy. We're not stupid. The brothers are not stupid. We understand when someone's for us and when someone is not. And it's obvious that the Democratic Party is not for us.
Yeah, I can't.
Their policies actually strike at the heart of the black family and the nuclear family.
Yeah, so, you were a part of Black Lives Matter. You founded it there. And now you're saying, you're not saying the entire Republican Party, you're saying Donald Trump. So what is it about Donald Trump? Is it the economics? You noted the black family. What is it going to take for him to shore up this support amongst black voters?
Well, I just think that it's going to take information. A lot of people are misinformed. They don't really understand because they don't educate themselves on Donald Trump as a person and his history. But if they do that, and it's going to take, leaders, educated leaders, getting the word out there, I think that it'll happen on its own and it'll be organic because personally, I love the man. I mean, how could you not like a real man? How could you not relate to someone like that?
Yeah, he watches every morning, so I'm sure he's cheering as you're saying this. We looked at some of the polls for Trump over Biden in the battleground states. In 2020, it was 8%. Now in 2023, he has 22%. And that's just not black men. So the election is right around the corner. If you had the opportunity to talk to the former president, I'm sure he's watching right now, what would you tell him?
Now, before we get into this, I want to say this, right, about that poll. I'm not sure if I'm buying it, okay? I'm just saying, I'm skeptical, okay? I'm skeptical of this guy. Again, I like the fact that he's coming out here and he's supporting Trump. But I'm still skeptical in regards to whether or not these people are actually going to go in the voting booth and pull the trigger, right? Because right now, Biden is extremely disliked, okay? People don't like Biden. So the cool thing now is to come out and say, well, I support Trump. But when you get into that voting booth, are you going to pull the trigger and vote for Trump? Again, I'm skeptical of that number, 22%. I'm not saying it's not possible. Right? Again, if that poll said 22% of black men, I would say, okay, that's believable. Because I do think that it is possible, probable really, that if things go well for Trump in 2024, he's going to get at least 1/5 of the black male vote. Right? I think that the tides are really turning. I think the black male vote really is leaving the Democrat Party. Now, again, a lot of these black males are not identifying as Republicans per se, but they are identifying as more conservative, okay? They have no problem saying, I'm conservative. I'm not a Republican, but I'm conservative, right? And I think that's, the appeal of Trump, right? Because Trump is not a, stereotypical Republican, right? He's not a traditional Republican. And I think that is what attracts people to Trump because he has a side of normalcy, right? He has a side of, well, I'm a human being. Even though he's a billionaire, he's a flawed billionaire, right? He's clearly flawed. He's a human being. He makes mistakes. He's not holier than thou, right? And I actually think that is what attracts people to Trump more so than the traditional kind of pious Republican figure, right? So, I personally don't know if that number is true, right? But what I do know is that a lot of people are seeing the destruction that is being caused in this country by the Biden administration, okay, specifically in regards to the economy. And people are saying that I might not like Trump, but I know that the economy was better under Trump. I know that the border situation was better under Trump. And also on top of that, again, say what you want, but Trump at the very least tried to appeal to the black community, right? He tried to with the First Step Act, opportunity zones, HBCU funding. Again, people like Roland Martin will say, oh, he really didn't do this and that, blah, blah. He won't give him credit for it, right? Again, never get credit for it. But, hey, he tried, right? And, I think a lot of people are looking back at the Trump presidency and saying, okay, look at what the Democrats are doing now. Democrats promise all this stuff, and now they've essentially said, you know what? No, you're not getting any of this stuff, right? The George Floyd Policing Act ain't passing. The Voter Rights Act ain't passing, which, by the way, none of these things actually help out black people, right? Helping black people vote for Democrats is not helping black people, okay? That ain't helping black people. The George Floyd Policing Act ain't helping black people, okay? Police are not the biggest issue with black folks, right? The biggest issue is the economy, right? When you talk about having a good economy, when you talk about having closed borders or more secure borders, that's actually what helps out black folks. Ask them in Chicago, right? The ones in Chicago that's currently dealing with the illegal immigrants being placed in their neighborhoods by their black mayor, right, Brandon Johnson. Ask them. Again, I don't know. If black people don't vote Trump in 2024, it ain't never happening, right? There's no way any Republican is ever getting a black vote if they don't vote for Trump in 2024, right? So again, I'm giving it another shot. I'm optimistic. I'm skeptical. Again, I'm even skeptical of this guy. I mean, again, he just came out of nowhere. Now he's like, oh, I support Trump, blah, blah, blah. Which, he could have a legitimate awakening. Who knows? I don't know. It's possible. It happens all the time. But at the same time, again, I just feel like if black people don't vote for Trump in 2024, right, at the very least 1/5, right, 1/5, there's no hope. Right, there's zero hope. But the reality of today's modern day politics, right, the political map, so to speak, is that Republicans really don't need the black vote. Okay, so all they really need is not necessarily for black people to show up and to vote for Trump or whoever the Republican nominee is. What they really need is for black people to sit out. Black people to say, oh, you know what? I'm discontent with Biden. I don't really like Trump. I'm gonna sit out. Right? If black people sit out, then that means that's a lot of votes lost for Democrats because black people overwhelmingly vote for Democrats. So if they just don't turn out to vote, if they just don't vote, that is taking away a large part of the Democrat Party base. So again, the reality is that, even if, Trump or Republican doesn't get 1/5 or 1/4 of the black vote, what's more important is actually for black people who are discontent to just not vote Democrat, right? I mean, they don't have to vote Trump. Okay, they can vote third party, but they just don't need to vote Democrat. That's what you're really looking for.
Call me. I'm myself, man. I'll stop for Trump.
Mark, I'm fascinated by you. Why did you end up leaving Black Lives Matter? Or are you still affiliated with it?
No. I'm still affiliated with it. All day, because the thing about it is my message that I preach and that I tout is unity. It's a message of unity. It's unity driven. I want to bring together all the marginalized groups from the margins and bring them to the center because we're stronger together as a one nation indivisible under God.
Yeah. Mark Fisher, I think all Americans can go with a message of unity. We thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm all about, coming together, right, with reasonable people. But these people on the left, particularly in Black Lives Matter, are not reasonable. I'm not sure how his message is playing out in regards to supporting Trump in his own circle, right? Because those people that he's around are probably not reasonable, rational, or logical people, okay? But, hey, kudos to him for trying, right? Kudos for him for spreading the message and trying to get people to open their minds. I just don't think that is going to work, particularly with that group of people. But who knows? Again, we'll see if all of this alleged black support for Trump pans out in 2024. Wouldn't be surprised if they go into the voting booth and still vote Democrat, right? Because that's historically what happened. So I'm not getting my hopes up. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.